All right, let's dive right into a really powerful chapter from the book of Genesis. We're going to focus entirely on Genesis 26 today. It's the story of Isaac, a guy who's kind of living in the shadow of his famous father Abraham. And what we find in this one chapter is this timeless drama about God's promises, human weakness, intense conflict, and just the raw struggle to survive.
So, this is really the central question for us today. I mean, you'd think a blessing from God would make your life easier, right? But for Isaac, that promise of divine favor becomes the very thing that sparks his biggest problems. It brings him incredible wealth, sure, but it also brings him a ton of envy and hostility. So, how do you handle it when the world turns on you because you're blessed? Let's get into it.
So, our story kicks off, like so many of these ancient stories do, with a crisis. There is a brutal famine in the land. It's not the first one they've seen, but it's bad. Isaac's got to make a choice, and fast. So he moves his entire operation, his family, his servants, his herds, to a place called Gerar, which is Philistine territory. You can just imagine the uncertainty, right? Moving into a foreign land, basically as a refugee, totally at the mercy of strangers.
Now, at this critical moment, you have to remember Egypt is the regional superpower. It's the obvious place to go for food and safety. But right then, Isaac gets a direct message from God. And the command is specific, and frankly, it's a little strange. Don't go down to Egypt. Stay put. Live in the land I tell you to live in. This is Isaac's first big test. Is he going to trust this command, or is he going to do the logical thing and head for Egypt?
And with that command comes this absolutely monumental promise. But here's the kicker. It's not a new promise. God is reaffirming the exact same deal, the same covenant he made with Isaac's father, Abraham. So the stakes here are just sky high. This isn't just about Isaac finding his next meal. It's about a legacy that's supposed to be as numerous as the stars, a legacy that will eventually bless the entire world. Isaac isn't just some guy looking for grass for his sheep. He's carrying a world-changing destiny on his shoulders.
All right, so Isaac obeys. He stays in Gerar. But having faith in a huge cosmic promise doesn't just magically erase all your fears here on Earth. And in his very first test in this new land, Isaac runs into a familiar problem and makes a choice that, well, it sounds disturbingly familiar if you know his family history. When the local guys in Gerar start asking about his wife, Rebecca, who was apparently very beautiful, Isaac pulls the exact same move his father Abraham had pulled twice. He lies. He says, "She is my sister." Why? Because he's terrified they'll kill him to get to her. It's a real moment of weakness, a total failure of trust. And it's a powerful reminder that these patriarchs, these heroes of the faith, were also deeply human and flawed, often repeating the same mistakes generation after generation.
Well, the lie doesn't last long. The king, Abimelech, looks out his window one day and sees Isaac and Rebekah being, well, a little more affectionate than a brother and sister ought to be. So he calls Isaac in and confronts him. And you have to listen to his words. The so-called pagan king is the one giving the patriarch a lecture on morality. He's not just mad about the lie, he's upset because Isaac's deception could have caused one of his own people to sin, bringing a curse on the whole nation. It's wild. But then, in a crazy twist, Abimelech issues a royal order protecting both of them.
So despite that really rocky and, let's be honest, dishonest start, the other half of God's promise, the blessing, starts to kick in. Big time. But just like we said at the beginning, this divine favor, it doesn't solve all these problems. It actually creates a whole new, dangerous set of them.
Just look at this number, 100-fold return in a single year during a famine. This isn't just a good harvest. This is a supernatural, jaw-on-the-floor level of success. It's a giant, flashing neon sign to everyone around that God's hand is on this guy, making him wildly prosperous while everyone else is struggling.
And this miraculous success just sets off a chain reaction. Isaac becomes fabulously wealthy and powerful. He has huge herds, tons of servants. But this doesn't earn him respect, it earns him envy. The Philistines see his prosperity not as something amazing, but as a threat. And their envy turns into action. In an act of pure, spiteful sabotage, they go and fill up the wells his father Abraham had dug. They're literally trying to cut off his water supply, his lifeline.
And all that hostility comes to a head in this moment. The very same king Abimelech, who had put Isaac under his personal protection, now shows up with a demand. It's an eviction notice. "Get out," he says. "Move away from us, you have become way too powerful for us." Isaac is being kicked out, not because he did anything wrong, but because he was too successful. The blessing itself has made him an outcast.
So Isaac has to leave. He moves into a nearby valley and starts the next chapter of his journey. And this part of the story becomes a gritty, repetitive, and exhausting fight over the single most important resource in the desert: water. This isn't a war fought with swords, it's a war fought with shovels.
This sequence here tells a whole story just in the names. Isaac's guys redig one of his father's old wells. They hit water, and immediately the local shepherds rush in and claim it's theirs. A fight breaks out, so Isaac names that well Esek, which means contention. He moves on, digs another well, and the same thing happens. They fight over that one too, so he names it Sitnah, enmity. But here's the key: Isaac doesn't fight back. He just moves again. He digs a third well, and this time, nobody bothers him. He names it Rehoboth, open spaces, saying, now the Lord has given us room. It's a victory won by pure persistence, not aggression. So after finally finding some breathing room at Rehoboth, Isaac moves on to Beersheba. And it's here that the story takes its final and maybe most surprising turn. The very people who drove him away, the ones who were jealous of him and fought him over his wells, they come looking for him. The story is coming full circle. And just as this is all about to go down, God appears to Isaac for a second time in this chapter. The timing is just perfect. After Isaac has been through all of it, the deception, the envy, the exile, the conflict, and after he has proven he can endure, God speaks again. And the message is simple: do not be afraid, for I am with you. It's this beautiful confirmation that his perseverance has been noticed and that God's got his back. Right after this reassurance from God, King Abimelech shows up with his whole crew. And what he wants is a covenant. Now, let's be really clear what this means. This is not a casual handshake. A covenant in the ancient world was a formal, solemn, binding treaty. It was a sacred oath sworn before God. This is serious business.
And listen to Abimelech's reason for wanting this treaty. It's so telling. He says flat out to Isaac, "We saw clearly that the Lord was with you." His former enemies are now openly admitting that the source of Isaac's power is divine. They're afraid of it, frankly, and they want to make sure they're on the right side of it. So Isaac agrees, they have a big feast to seal the deal, and they make a formal covenant of peace.
And then, as a perfect bookend to this whole struggle, on the very same day the peace treaty is made, Isaac's servants strike water. It's like a divine exclamation point on the whole agreement. Isaac names the well Sheba, which means oath, and the place becomes known as Beersheba, the well of the oath, forever marking this moment when conflict was finally turned into peace. But just when you think everything is wrapped up nicely, the chapter ends by planting the seed of a brand new conflict. But this time, it's not from the outside. It's coming from inside the family. The focus shifts to his son, Esau, who, at age 40, makes a decision that causes massive waves. He marries 2 Hittite women from outside the covenant family. And the final line of the chapter is just heavy. It's packed with emotion. These marriages weren't a celebration. The text says they were a source of grief. Some translations even say a bitterness of spirit for both Isaac and Rebekah. This decision by their son brings a deep personal pain right into the heart of their family, and it sets the stage for all the drama and dysfunction that's about to explode in the next generation. And that leaves us with this final, lingering question, doesn't it? Isaac successfully handled famine, his own failures, the envy of others, and conflict with foreign kings. He managed to turn his enemies into allies through sheer patience and faith. But maybe his greatest challenge was still waiting for him. He managed to find peace out in the world. But could he keep the peace inside his own fractured house? Well, that's a story for another time.